In the first part of this video series, I put together the main body, its lining, and assembled the gussets. In part 2, I'm going to construct the zipper panel and attach it to the main body, as well as finishing off the two top edges. I'm also going to make the crossbody strap. If you haven't already, head over to my website to get the plans for this project. There's a link in the description. Let's get into it. The zipper I had came with a standard zipper pull, which I wanted to replace with an open pull so that I could add a leather tab to it. Once that was done, I could align the bottom stop with the end of the zipper panel and then mark the location of the last two zipper teeth that I was going to remove. I could then measure back from those teeth about an inch and then cut off the excess zipper tape. Then I just had to come through with my end snips and remove all those excess zipper teeth. I could then add the two end stops and finish off the zipper tape. Before I assemble the zipper tape to the zipper panel, I'm going to stitch in the leather pull tab. I added a thin strip of a non-stretch tape to the tab just because it's going to see a lot of use and I don't want that leather to stretch out over time. With the zipper tape done, I could then come through and finish off the inside edges where the zipper tape will be attached. For these edges, I'm just using a standard burnish with 50% Tokonole and 50% water. Because the zipper tape is porous, it required a bit more glue than when adding glue to the leather piece. I made sure to spread out the glue on the zipper panel nice and thin so that there was no possibility of any squeeze out on the face side of the zipper panel. I then would use my awl just to make sure that those end stops were aligned properly right into the corner of that zipper panel opening. I could then add the glue to the entire zipper panel, again making sure to avoid the parts of the zipper that are going to be seen on the inside. then came through and punched my stitching holes around the perimeter of the zipper tape. I also came through at this point and pre-punched the perimeter of the actual zipper panel. Whenever I have two stitch lines come together in a point, I always use my awl instead of punching through with my stitching chisels. Both ends of the zipper panel need to be done now, and they're both stitched up to the straight part of the zipper panel. This will get stitched into the main body later. With the ends done, I could then stitch in around the zipper panel. I could then edge finish the two ends of the zipper panel. And I always use my Columbus wax to finish off a painted edge. And with that, our zipper panel is done, so we can now stitch it to the main body. I'm applying the glue between the stitch holes and the edge of the leather. I don't want to have glue over top of my stitch holes because I've double punched this. If I have glue covering the stitch holes, it's going to make stitching the holes much more difficult because it's going to be super sticky with that dried glue. So you can see here I have glue on both sides of the panel. I should have done one side at a time. Having glue on both sides makes it a little bit more difficult to manage because you don't want the other side of the zipper panel touching the interior of the bag, getting glue all over the place. I also added needles in each corner to keep those edges aligned nicely, and then a needle in the middle to make sure my stitch holes were aligning properly. Stitching this part of the bag is a little bit cumbersome because I wasn't able to figure out a good way to hold the bag, so I just sat on my stool and put the bag between my knees, and it seemed to work. It's not great on the back because you're hunched over for a little bit, but it gets the job done. So the stitch is done. I can now come through and sand down the top two edges, getting it nice and flat and smooth in preparation for edge paint. So I designed this bag intentionally to have these two fairly thick edges right on top. Because there's such a heavy feature of this design, it's important to get that edge paint as smooth and clean as possible. So to do that, I started with a very heavy first layer of paint to really get a nice foundation for all the subsequent layers that I would then sand down through and use to get a nice smooth finished edge. So for the strap, I'm using this 1.5 inch thick canvas webbing. And to finish off the ends, I do a very small 45-degree miter right off the corners, and then use a lighter to melt the end. And because I've used my laser to cut out these small pieces, I have to sand out the char. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and just finish up all of the edges on all of the leather pieces. So this style strap has two different pieces. One short canvas piece cut at about 7 inches and the longer piece cut at 50 inches. And on the shorter piece, I'm attaching the single loop hardware. And while I'm at it, I go ahead and attach the buckle on the other end. After looping the long strap through the single loop hardware, I can then attach the double loop to one end of the long strap. While I had the strap laid out, I added a few of these binder clips to the ends just to hold everything in place. And then I also went through and made sure all of my hardware was oriented properly on the strap so that it would function correctly. Then it was just a matter of stitching everything together. So that is our completed, fully adjustable crossbody strap. So that wraps up this project. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below. And if you want to get the plans for this bag, head over to my website or the link in the description below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.